But I wanted to be a nurse because I wanted to take care of people, because I wanted to help them deal with suffering. Maybe I couldn't take it away or decrease it, but I wanted to help them deal with it. And I felt like a failure after so many years because I couldn't prevent my mom from suffering when she was dying. I couldn't prevent my dad from suffering when my mom was dying. That's what wakes me up every morning now. The excitement that I can help some people, that I can change the world. Before we even started, I was sitting there and she just looked at me and was like, "How do you feel?"
Welcome to Intrepid Storytelling, where the brave, the courageous, the dauntless, and the resolutely fearless share their journeys of hope, grit, and transformation. These are the voices of the valiant, those who dare to rise, to dream, and to tell their truth out loud. Because every story has the power to inspire, and yours just might change the world. I'm your host, Deanna Powell. I am so excited to welcome today Sergio Cardenas. He is such a special person to my family and me. I'm going to get into that, but Sergio is a flight nurse with Mercy Air. And today I also want to introduce my co-host and sister, Denise Powell. Denise has a very special relationship with Sergio, and that's why I asked her to be a co-host with me today. So we're just going to have a conversation and let it flow. I cannot wait to hear more about your story, Sergio. But why do you want to tell your story today?
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, so I think the main reason is that at this chapter in my life, I've realized that a lot of people like me go through similar struggles. And I think that my story can either motivate them to maybe chase a dream in their life, but more importantly, really learn to take care of themselves so they can be there for the people around them. I think that's the main goal, is to hopefully shine a light on some topics that are maybe in the shadows for a lot of us, right? And know that even the people that have it on the outside put together, maybe they don't. And to be
Yeah,
maybe a
I
little
think that's the
compassionate.
thing about this. You know, I hear so many people say, well, I don't have a story. I don't have a story to tell. But yes, you do. And I bet you, if you really look at your life, and there are lots of things about your life that will not only be important to somebody else and what other people might definitely want to hear and learn about you, but that the lessons you've learned in your life could save someone else's life. And
Correct.
and before we really get started with the beginning of your story, speaking of saving lives, you were the flight nurse in the helicopter that helped Denise get her safely from her near fatal car accident to the hospital in Palm Springs, and just outside of Palm Springs in Desert Valley. Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Fulton City, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I pass by
Yeah.
there all the time.
Yeah, I bet
Me
you
too.
get a little flashbacks a little bit, maybe.
I do, yeah.
And we have stayed friends on Facebook all these years, and
Yeah.
you've seen us go through our journey of getting through different life experiences. And we kind of see you over there just kind of doing your thing, but we have never really connected in this way before. So I'm really excited to hear your story about everything. So don't leave
Yeah.
anything out.
Oh, I won't. Yeah, that was probably one of my wildest calls, just looking back at things, because of the impact that it had, right? Like afterwards. And then getting to meet you guys, sometime later, the reunion, right? That was great. But what was to me like a shocker was getting the cookies every Christmas time, right? Getting the gingerbread cookies like for a few years, right? And I never had that happen before. Like, I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I can count maybe 5 patients total in my career that have came back and said, "Hey, thank you for helping me out," or whatever, let alone send me cookies. And then
I
read
like
on
it was
Facebook.
the littlest thing that we could do, and we look forward to it. My mom really was part of that
Yeah.
too, because she lived in the desert at the time. And so it was like literally the least we could do. And it was so fun to have that tradition. And I kind of miss doing it now. It's been so long. I haven't done it in a while, but I'm glad that meant something to you, because yeah, I'm going to start crying too, but literally the least I could do for my heroes. So
Yeah,
I'll send you some.
thank you. No, that kept me going for a while, right? Because I would come home. You don't notice how deep you are in the thing that you do, that you call your passion, right? And sometimes you kind of forget to look around and take it in, right? For me, the reunion back then, even though I was connected, there was a piece of me that wasn't there, right? Because gotta keep it together, right? And so not showing certain emotions and not breaking down and all that kind of stuff. But the cookies, right, allowed me to come home and tell my kids the story. Like, hey, check this out. I helped somebody. She came back and she said thank you. Like that's a story, right? So they know
Yeah.
the girl that used to send me cookies every year, right? And now my kids are 21 and 18. They were little.
Wow. Like I'm sure you have saved countless lives. And once you get them into the hospital and, that's that, and you may never see them again. And I bet there are lots of people that wish they could reconnect with you, and maybe they will. And maybe this might be an avenue from which they might be able to find you to say thank you. But you truly saved Denise's life, but then, it meant so much to us as a family. And we have not made a whole lot of money in our lives. And especially at that time with all the medical bills, there was only so much we could do, but making cookies was one of those things. And I remember the first time we took plates of cookies to the hospital, we took them to where you worked, but then we also went to the hospital and the ER nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And just walking into that ER for me was like, no, sorry, I can't do it. I have to go. And it was like my body was shutting down with grief because it was too overwhelming. Sorry. So,
You're okay.
I mean, remembering the cookie thing, it's really special to us too,
Because that was really traumatic time for you guys. And it was such a healing time. Well, I also was heavily medicated. So I wasn't able to process all the grief till later. So every time I go to the hospital now, it's like, oh, my heroes live here. So I had a different experience taking the cookies, but I appreciate what my family went through in that was traumatic for them. And they still went and dropped off the cookies. I was all
Yeah.
about it, gangbusters. I had more
'cause
trauma from the actual
you don't
scene.
remember much about being in the hospital because
Yeah.
you were so drugged up. It was
I
hilarious.
have memories. I just don't know what.
Yeah. I mean, days and days we were in there and just like wondering what was going to come next, and being in the coma and all of that. And I just want to take one little pause really quick because Denise does have her own story on Intrepid Storytelling. And if listeners listening to this episode want to go to her episode and listen to that one, there's a short one that she did at the event that we did. It's about 8 to 10 minutes long. And then there's a long form story that will be also on Intrepid Storytelling. So you can listen to her story about recovering from her near fatal car crash. But today we're talking to Sergio, and he was part of her story. So, but Sergio, so this is so cool. We've stayed friends on Facebook. We've kind of watched each other's lives, but we really don't know each other that well, even though we know each other so intimately after this experience, and you do feel like family to us. So let me just ask you, like, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Yeah. So complicated, right? I was born in Long Beach, but grew up kind of in Mexico for a few years. We moved to La Paz when I was like 2 years old. Came back when I was about 4 or 5. Stayed in LA until about 92. My dad decided that we needed to leave LA the day the riots ended, right? So we could see the riots. And he said, hey, I don't want this life for my 2 kids. We're out of here. And so we left to TJ. What better place than LA, right? Than
Wow.
TJ at the height of the cartel wars. Yeah.
Wow. Your dad thought that was better?
Yeah. Because he had some control, right?
Yeah.
They weren't just
Sure.
rioting in the streets. And if you stayed out of the way, you were safe. And then so he ended up buying some property out in kind of in the middle of nowhere. We built a house. We lived there for a while. And about 97 or so, my mom got sick. So she had her first bout with breast cancer. And we came to the States. She was like super sick, septic, almost dying. She had surgery. She had a mastectomy. And the recovery took place in San Diego at my one of my aunt's house. So
How old were
that
you at that
time,
time?
12-ish.
And
Yeah, I think about
you
12.
you moved to La Paz when you were how old?
Like 2.
2. Okay, so you were there for
Yeah.
10 years before
No,
your
no, no,
mom
no.
had to
So
recover.
I was there about 2 years.
Oh, 2
Came
years.
back to LA when I was about 5, 4 or 5.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Oh, and then TJ.
stayed.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I said it's kind of all over the place,
I
right?
see.
So then when she got sick, we came back to the States and then never left. So her brothers lived here in Imperial County, right? So we came here, just seemed natural to come here. My dad was very disconnected to his family. So we just kind of came here and struggled here because there wasn't really work for my dad. And he just kind of, we kind of barely made it through. Finished high school, went to nursing school here, met my wife when I was in high school and went to nursing school and boom, here we are, right?
There are really good schools both in Riverside County and then in Imperial. Where did you go to school?
Yeah, in Imperial. Yeah, so in Imperial, they're at the college. They actually have a very good nursing program where I think for community colleges like number 1 in the state, right? So they do well. So that's where I went to school. And it's interesting, right? Because this place here, Imperial County, is predominantly Hispanic, right? But you still kind of feel like, at least for me growing up, when I was in Mexico, I felt like I was not from there. And when I came here, I felt like I wasn't from here.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting. It's
I can
really
see that.
wild to grow up that way. And you're kind of always proving yourself. Right. And so, yeah, I got married while I was in nursing school. Right. Had a baby when I was in nursing school and hit the ground running. Right. I started the fire department in 2001. So the year after the year I graduated, I just started going on calls and pestering the chief to let me get on, and he let me get on.
What
And
made
so
you what made you want to pick that line of work? Was it something that you knew and that you've always wanted to do, that you were good at, that caring for others and that state of emergency, you were really good in that kind of high level
no,
stuff?
actually, I wanted to be a doctor,
Okay.
right? And I wanted to be a doctor because a year after my mom was sick, or maybe my grandma, I can't even remember now, but like I think my grandma died. My mom's mom died, and when she died, she was kind of like the only grandmother I had. I'd never met my grandfather on either side, right? They were both dead long before I was around, right? And so when I attached myself to my grandma, she got sick, died from colon cancer, right? And so I saw how that destroyed my mom and my uncles and my aunts and how everybody suffered, right? And I think something inside of me said like, hey, maybe you can help decrease the suffering, right? Fast forward to when my mom gets sick and again, I can't help her. I'm a kid, right? I felt helpless. So from a very young age, I wanted to be a doctor, and it was accepted by my dad, right? Because he pressured my brother and I had a lot to pick a career, right? And so I was very like, this is what I said I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, right?
Nice.
And so in high school, I wasn't a very good student. I was like terrible, 9th and 10th grade. Didn't go to school, ditched, was doing all the things you're not supposed to be doing. And then, yeah. And then something happened. Like, I think I went to my grandmother's grave and I promised her that I would turn my life around. Right. And so I did.
But it's so interesting that you talk about taking care of your grandma and taking care of your mom. And now you found something that you're passionate about and that you're so good at. And you just made a career out of it. And look at all the lives you saved. It's just incredible. I love that.
Yeah. I didn't really figure that piece out until recently. I didn't, because I was, like I said, like I call it being in the tunnel, right? You're just kind of in there walking. You don't know where you're going, just going, right? And you don't really take a beat to like look around and like enjoy the flowers and like the air is clean, grass is green, all that kind of stuff. You don't do that, or at least I didn't. I was just hammered down all the time, right?
And when you're young, you don't have a lot of the stuff behind you to look back on and go, oh, that's why I did that, or that's why that was supposed to happen that way. And so, yeah, you are kind of tunnel vision and you're like, I got to get this studying done and all this other stuff. I know it's going to be for a purpose someday, but there is a lesson there. And I think that's so important that you said that, to stop, take a pause and appreciate where you are. Because what you're doing is important work. What were some of like your childhood memories, some of the relationships you had besides your grandmother and your mother that had a true impact on your life and sort of your worldview? You talked about your dad being very, not strict, but, he had expectations of you, which I think probably, some kids don't grow up that way. And so they're just like, whatever, So there's good things and bad things about having that kind of pressure. But at the same time, there's also other people in your life that I'm just wondering, did you have any other friendships or relationships that impacted sort of how you made decisions along the way?
Honestly, my dad he was my hero, right? Even though he was strict and kind of tough sometimes, my cousins, right? They grew up with their dad in and out of prison, or their dads were like in the drug scene, not really there for them. So out of all of our cousins on my mom's side, and basically on both sides, my brother and I are the only ones to hold any kind of college education. I was the first one to even go to college, let alone graduate, right? So, and that was because of what my dad did, hands down, right? The pressure that he put on, whether it was too much or not enough or whatever, generational, if you will, right?
He did the right thing out of it. That was good.
Absolutely. Right. And I always looked up to him. Like, he did the difficult things all the time, regardless of what happened, right? Like, before we were born, my dad was involved in bad things, right? The moment we were conceived, he's like, I'm out of this life. He gave everything up, said, I'm out. I'd rather be poor and work for every dollar that I have than to teach my kids that that's the right way to do it. And we did. We suffered a lot. We would look around and all of our family, they're in a nice car. They've got jewelry. They've got big houses. They're throwing big parties for the holidays. They're getting gifts, right? Hey, who's going to get shoes this week? It's payday. I can only afford one pair of shoes. Who's going to get them? Right? Hey, you guys have to share clothes. Got to share a room. And sometimes there's going to be food on the table. Sometimes there isn't. Right? Like that was reality for us, for my brother and I. Right? And I have a twin brother. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, you're a twin?
Oh, he was your twin.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
So imagine that, looking around and saying, what's going on here? Right? And so at the time, I felt like it was like a little too much. But in retrospect, it was just enough, right? It was just enough pressure, just enough motivation. My dad never laid a hand on us, never, right? But boy, he'd talk to you and he'd make you cry all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
even
and
as a grown
guess
man.
what? The character. He instilled a character piece in you that appreciates life where where you can find happiness in the little things, and you don't have to have things to be happy and money to have status and all of that. That's so cool that you got to learn that,
Yeah, but with that being said, there is a part of me that learned that it was never going to be enough, right? Hard work looked like hard work. Your hands had to be beat up. Your body had to be beat up. And it was never going to be enough, right? I remember when we lived out in the country, he tasked us one summer, like, hey, every day we're going to dig out this septic tank by hand, this hole in the ground. And we're going to put a tank in there, but you guys have to dig it out. Okay. Wow. Every day, the entire summer, all day long. He'd come home from work and he'd look at the hole. It's not deep enough. Keep going. Every day for like 2 months.
Dang.
So he taught us all of that, right? But I do remember like still making time to be a kid, right? So I had a friend, my brother, right? He was always there with me. And, back then we were really tight, really, really tight. We'd get in trouble together. We'd go on adventures together. And when we lived out there, we met a kid that didn't go to school. He worked at a dairy farm. And what he would do is he'd bring the cattle back in, right, in the evening. So we became friends, and he'd bring extra horses so we could help him. Right. So we learned how to ride a horse. Yeah. We went on so many adventures. Right. And we remember him, right? Like, look, he doesn't get to be a kid because he's working all day, because he was our age, just like 12. Right. And he didn't go to school. He didn't have parents. He lived at some cattle ranch or some dairy farm, working all day. And we got to go play, right? Help him do his job.
Maybe that part, you guys going and playing with him, helping him do his job was part of his kid play too,
Oh, yeah.
So that's so cool. Your 12-year-old friend. And do you still stay in touch with him? Or have you lost track?
No, he disappeared, and he disappeared one day, and we just never saw him again.
That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe he'll pop up, he'll see the podcast, and he'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I got to reconnect with Sergio."
I hope so. I just hope he's still alive,
Wouldn't that be cool? You never know.
Yeah.
Coming into your adolescence, and you talked about your mom and your grandma getting into nursing school. What were some of those experiences like going through nursing school? Was that hard? I always wanted to be a pediatric nurse.
A lot of people. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I wanted to deliver babies, and I never got there.
Yeah. No, thanks. I've done it once or twice, and it's not fun.
Not for everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah. They can have that. Going through nursing school, I used to hear, because we had a family friend that was a nurse, right? And she's like, "Oh, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life," and all this stuff, right? And then people would. So let me backtrack a little bit. The reason why I went to nursing school was because I got denied admission to every college in the state of California. Because I did
medical
school
to be a doctor, or what?
Just admission in general. Like,
oh, wow.
They're like, your grades aren't good enough. You can't be a doctor. Because they ask you, like, what's your major, and pre-med and all this kind of stuff. And then they see your grades. They're like, no, man, you're gonna bomb this. Okay, well, I guess we're going to nursing school, right? And the last 2 years in high school, I turned around my GPA. I got like 4.1 GPA or whatever it was. So I ended up graduating with the 3.8 from a 1.7. So I turned everything around.
Like,
right?
Mad ethic. It was very premature for them to just cut off that.
But that's what they did back then. Yeah, this is like at the inception of social media, and there wasn't many podcasters, and there wasn't many of that kind of stuff. So you didn't have these projects that were extracurricular that you could do. It had to be sports, some sort of club at school, right? Or you just have to excel academically, or have a rich parent somewhere, right? And they have any of that. I played football in high school, but I never really played. I was on the team because I pissed the coaches off. I was a very angry kid. Let me just bring that back a little bit. I was a very angry kid in high school. I got in a lot of fights, got in a lot of trouble, and that's kind of what prompted this change, right? And so when I did that, so I said, you know what? Well, I'll go to nursing school here locally, and I'll chase my dream of being a doctor afterwards. Once I got into nursing school, I realized that it wasn't that hard, number one, right? Because it just came naturally. And I was already working at the fire department. So I had some exposure, kind of had some stress built into me from my childhood. And then I go into the stressful job, going into burning houses, taking care of people that are dying, people dying, cutting people out of cars, all this kind of stuff. Like I did that at 18, right? Fast forward, I go into nursing school, and it just comes naturally. A lot of it was natural. So it wasn't that difficult. That being said, I do recognize that it is difficult. Right? Because now I also teach at the college, and I see kids struggle with it, and I understand why. Right?
What are some of the things that you tell the kids at the college? Like, is it a mindset that they have to get into when they're in that what do you call it, emergency state? Or is it, here are your steps 1, 2, 3, and just focus on the steps so you're not getting into the, like, everything else that's going on around you? what's some of the things that you give advice?
Because I imagine you're in a state of emergency, so your body reacts naturally certain ways, right? Fight or flight or whatever that is, freeze.
Mhm.
That's me. And so, what do you tell them?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything kind of combined, right? Like what I tell them is to simplify what's happening, right? Like the human body is an organism. Think about it as a car. Like that's the car, right? The emergency is theirs. It is not your emergency. That's number one, right? Their car is broken, not your car. So let's take a beat. Let's really assess what's going on. And then there's a systematic approach onto how you do things. A, B, C, D, like there's steps to everything. Follow the steps. And if you get stuck or get lost, come back to the steps, right? But the reality is that it's the emotional component that pulls away at them. It distracts them, right? Somebody could say like, oh, my arm's bleeding over here, but they're missing a leg. Which one's the emergency? Right?
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So like I can stop the bleeding and all that stuff, like, but if you're not breathing or your heart's not beating, then what's the point? Right?
Right.
Just things like that. Right. And we do entry level nursing, right? It's not like I'm teaching these kids to go into the ER and be high level operators in the ER. That's not what I'm saying. But when they go to the simple entry level stuff, they need to be aware, they need to assess, and then they also need to talk to patients like people, not like robots. Right?
Even if they're acting crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So not to segue you, but so what makes me think about is being in that helicopter and me giving you so much grief. And mind you, people, like I don't remember any of this, but I must have been awake-ish on the helicopter. And so like, take me through that. Like what was going through your mind and what were the steps that you had to take?
Well, it was me and my partner. I think it was it Kathy? I can't remember. I think it was Kathy. And yeah, so I still talk to her, by the way. Yeah. So we show up, we pick you up, we do an assessment on scene. We're like, hey, throw her in the helicopter, let's get out of here because she's sick. Right? We get in the back and then you're just all over the place. It's what we call combative. Right. And so I'm talking about not being still, pulling equipment off of you, grabbing stuff, flailing all over the place. We're like, okay, time out. She definitely has a head injury because she's not here. Right. She's not like the lights are on, but there's nothing happening in there. Like she's just not here with us.
Yeah.
She's on a different planet.
Prefrontal cortex not working.
Correct.
Do you think that when that was happening and she was pulling all that stuff and kicking you and all of that, is that something that the body does when it's in trauma where it just starts like moving erratically?
You have to think about like the restlessness, there's probably a bunch of anxiety in there, right? There's your brain's not really, think about your brain being a bunch of connections that are wired, right? And somebody just shaking it, right? Some of those connections maybe get a little tense, maybe they break, maybe there's bleeding, right? So it's like some of those things are trying to fight to get to reconnect, but the vehicle, right, is like short circuiting a little bit, like trying to figure out which way is up. Hey, where am I? Right? Probably at the same time, right? And our job is to say, time out. We're going to take the patient out of the equation for her safety, number one, and probably because she's got a head injury, right? And we could tell pupils are maybe unequal, maybe there's some seizure activity, maybe they're just flaccid, or maybe they're obtunded, that kind of stuff. So we protect the airway because we don't want them to vomit and aspirate. So we did that, right? And it's funny because like it sounds really serious right now, but in the moment when me and my partner are doing it, we're joking. Like this is the morbid piece of our job, right? We're like, all right, hey, she's out. Copy that. We're just cracking jokes. And that's the levity of what we're trying to do. So we're not freaking out.
Right.
Right. That's like a defense mechanism for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's how you stuff things down.
Do you call it stuffing it down or do you call it compartmentalizing? Because, and I like to look at it as, when we were little, you watch the TV and you turn the channel with the knob, one channel at a time, right? And so we're on one channel. We're going to turn the channel to the next channel. That other channel now, we don't see that channel. We're just looking at these different channels at a time. And so compartmentalizing, I think when you can keep it also in a light, you can joke and keep it light, that energy in the room or in the helicopter or whatever, that helps the patient. That helps them. I really feel like that positive, just not thinking that like this is life or death, even though it's life and death, but everything is,
That helps
just
family
another
too,
day on the
I
job
learned.
sort of thing. I think it really does help.
As did I.
It could be compartmentalizing. The problem is that many of us in this job never come back to it. Right? Yeah. And that's way more common than actually saying, hey, put a pin in it, come back to that later. Hey, now that I have time, I'm going to go address my emotional, shortcomings or whatever. That doesn't happen. Not very often.
Wow. How common is mental health, like an attention to mental health or just going through counseling and therapy and stuff? Is that common or not common then? For people in the
people
ER
seeking help?
No, people in your at your job.
Yeah, but do you mean how many of us seek help?
Yeah, how many seek help? Would you say
Not
it's
many.
a priority at all?
No, it's still something, even though it's very common and very out there now, right? It still, in a sense, creates a sense of shame for some people, especially the people that have been in it for a long time.
Because then you have to deal with all the messy stuff, and you deal with so much messy stuff. Probably it's scary for somebody to go, oh wow, I have to then talk about this now. I would
Well, a lot of it is
feel terrified.
Denial.
A lot of it is denial, right? Like, I don't have that problem. I'll give you an example, right? I started at the fire department in 2001. The indoctrination that I got was, we just joke, right? I was 18, did CPR on a lady. She died. Cool. There was no, hey, pal, how you doing? Come here. Come here, son. Let me talk to you. This is what you're going to see in your career. This is how things are going to be. No. It was, sorry if I'm going to offend anybody, but they're like, you're not going to be a bitch and cry, are you? That was my counseling on the way back to the station. Of course not, sir. I'm not going to cry. Right? And it sounds terrible right now, right? But in back then, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that was normal. It still is normal to a degree now, right?
Yeah. But see, I can see not crying about it in the moment, but there's got to be a part of the process because your body holds it. It's stuffed down in there. It's in there. It's going to come out some way. Maybe it's chronic illness. Maybe it's, headaches or what have you, eating disorder. There's so many ways that the body keeps the score.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, even the CIA and other workplaces, business people, they all see therapists. So it's just interesting that the most intense job doesn't have that kind of support.
Right. I mean, even police officers
they
have
do
to
now.
see therapists.
They do now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they do now, right? And I think every company now has like peer support and EAP, that kind of stuff. That wasn't a thing in 2001.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so,
wow.
And it also, like you guys are saying, is like, there's got to be a point where somebody circles back and, hey, let's take care of this. That requires a second person to understand what they're doing. It was not common. Again, no social media, no gurus on social media, wellness coaches, none of that. That didn't exist. Okay. So you don't get that. Right. So what happens? You think that it's normal to not address those things. But to speak to that, years later, I look back at my life and I said, I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that's telling the young guy, suck it up. I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that's going to have PTSD. I'm not the guy that's going to lose their mind because of the calls that they ran because I'm tough and I'm resilient. No, that is not true. Right. And I became exactly that guy. Right. Not knowing that I did. until I hit the bottom, and that's when the can just opened up, and I got to see some pieces of myself that I had never seen, that I'd never
Okay,
recognized.
talk about that. Talk about that. What was your bottom?
Yeah, so when I met Denise, both of you guys, when I met you, it was 2009. I had just started my job with the company that I was with. I stayed there for 14 years, right? And I did every job possible there. I climbed the ladder. I was a supervisor. I was a regional manager. I went to Sacramento. I even got on their incident management team, deployed to New York, New Jersey, Texas, Minnesota, everywhere during the pandemic.
Oh.
And I was in it. I was in the pocket. I was doing what I loved. And never did I think that I identified as a flight nurse. Like, a flight nurse was what defined me, right? I never thought that. I didn't, though, throughout the years, realize that my job sometimes meant more to other people around me than it meant to me, right? I almost kind of felt
Interesting.
ungrateful. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm at the top of the mountain. I look back at my life when I was in Mexico and look where I am today. Yeah, I'm proud, but this isn't enough, right? And so
Wow.
when I looked at that, family members, little, my cousins are now having kids, right? They're little. Hey, look at your uncle. He's a flight nurse. He flies in a helicopter. Look what he does. I was like idolized to a degree, right? And I never saw myself that way, but I would go to my kids' school and do like career day, and they would be like, everyone's flocking over, got the helicopter, got the flight suit. My daughter's coming over, my son's coming over. Like, it's crazy, right? Your ego is like relishing in all this praise, right? And then I lost my job out of a surprise, right?
What that's like.
I didn't. I had never lost, you know? I always landed on my feet, and I always left some
Huge.
place to go to the next best thing.
Buying or selling real estate isn't just a transaction, it's personal. And that's why I like to treat my clients like their family. I'm Deanna Powell with the Intrepid Home Team at Realty One Group, Orca Gold in Bellevue, Washington. With over 25 years of experience in negotiations, mortgage, title, and escrow, I deliver a true VIP client experience on every transaction, whether it's residential, luxury homes, or land. I listen first, negotiate fiercely, and protect your best interest every step of the way. With offices and partners in all 50 U.S. states, plus 30 different countries and territories around the world, you can be confident that your real estate needs will be met in every and any area you make your move. If you want expertise, integrity, and results, call me today, Deanna Powell, with the Intrepid Home Team, because every move deserves VIP treatment. I can be reached on my mobile phone 425-777-6998 or email me at team@intrepidhometeam.com, or you can visit my website www.intrepidhometeam.com. That's spelled INTREPIDHOMETEAM.com.
When that happens,
And
it's
so,
huge, especially when your life is about your job and then suddenly it just ends.
yeah, right.
It does
And
kind of
so,
feel like your life is over, because when the rug is pulled out from under you, you feel like you're drowning, like you can't even catch your foot. Is
Mhm.
that how it felt?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like, so, I had whispers in my life like years before. Like, I knew things were getting heavy in terms of the stuff I was carrying with, like, the stuff I'd seen at work or my experiences, right? And my brother, right, he was in the military. And so you think you're reaching out to people sometimes, and when they don't hear you, it feels terrible, right? So, like you said, hey, go look for some help, right? So I reached out to the person that I thought would understand, right? And so I did. I tried having this conversation with my brother twice,
Your
right? And I
twin
said, "Hey, man, like,
brother.
I think there's something wrong with me, man." Well, what do you mean? I'm like, "Well, I'm having nightmares. I can't sleep. Have night sweats. I'm grinding my teeth. Like, like my wife says that I'm like punching the air in my sleep. Like, what's happening, man?" And he's like, "Well, what are you trying to say?" I didn't want to say it, right? I'm like, I think I need some help. No. You weren't in the military. You didn't go to war. That's what he said, right? You know what, man? You're right.
War.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I stopped talking about it. The second time I tried bringing this up, his wife was like, babe, he's trying to tell you something that he needs help. Right? And so, again, shut me down. But in the same breath, he's telling me a story of one of his friends that is a fireman and how he's had these issues and seen these terrible incidents and calls and ran these just horrific scenes. And he's telling me this, right? And telling me like, you know what, man? And he gets help. You know, he's going therapy and he's doing this and he's doing that. So I looked at him, right? And I asked him like, that's crazy, man. So he's a fireman. Yeah. Who do you think he calls when he needs help? And he's like, what do you mean? Yeah. When there's a patient that he can't handle, who do you think he calls? Calls people like me. And he was like flabbergasted, right? I'm like, yeah, mama. But what do I know? I didn't go to war. So I never talked about it again.
You didn't talk about it again, and then you kind of pushed it aside, or like how did that work?
Yeah. I just stuffed it way down and moved on with my life. And I said, you know what? Suck it up. Keep going, keep grinding. You know, your family needs you. Keep grinding. I was willing to sacrifice myself to make sure that my family was okay, right? And so I did until I lost my job. So when I lost my job, I realized that I had a lot of things that were undealt with, right? Unresolved. And through the years, I had met a partner that I worked with, Lena. She got into breath work and yoga and all this stuff, right? And she had left somewhere else and she stopped working as a flight nurse, but I saw what she was doing with her life, her and her husband, right? We became really good friends, my wife and I and her husband and her. And so we were all, I would see what they were doing. I saw them going to Peru. I saw her doing these retreats and I got curious, right? So I had to ask her. And probably a year before I got fired, she's like, hey, just do a breathwork session with me. I'm like, oh, here we go, man. All this woo-woo stuff. So I did it. And I don't think I was ready. I don't think I gave it the chance that it deserved because I was like, man, I think I wasted her time, right? That was that. I lost my job. She was one of the first people that I called. And I said, hey, I lost my job. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she was very calm. And she's like, this may be the greatest thing that happens to you. You never know. Right? And so I said, yeah, you know
said
what?
that
Yeah,
to
you're
me
right.
too. And it
Yeah.
made me so angry. It made me so angry. I'm like, how could this be the best thing that's ever happened to me? Like, how dare you? Right?
Yeah. And
You know
so
what? I say the ball bounces higher, the harder it hits the ground. And I'm not even joking about that. Like, it's the scariest thing, but it can be the most exciting thing at the same time when you just have nowhere else to go but up.
yeah.
That's true.
I mean, that's it,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, I call her and she's like, hey, just come to the house and just come. You don't have to worry about what we're going to do, how long you're going to be here. Just show up. You stay as long as you want. You can do whatever. And at this point, now she has a facility, right? Or her place, her property, and she runs breathwork camps. She has a sauna, a cold plunge. She does the Lucia light therapy. They call it light traveling. She does Reiki. She does yoga. She does all this stuff, right?
That's so
And I'm like,
cool.
all right, I'm there. And I made excuses to not go, right? Even then, I still made excuses to not go because I was like, I don't have time for this. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for work, how I'm going to get my life back on track.
Mhm.
But when I lost my job, I wasn't angry, or at least I pretended that I wasn't angry because I didn't want my wife to feel like I was going to lose it, right? And kind of like lose control of what was going on. She was angry and she was scared, right?
Mhm.
But I assured her that we would survive this and that I was going to land on my feet, right?
Meanwhile, you are scared shitless.
I was lying to myself. Absolutely. I didn't
You were
believe that for a
protecting
second.
her. You were protecting her and probably trying to protect yourself a little bit too. Because I've been
survival.
There.
Yeah. Right. So
Stay
when I get
positive.
there or when I days go on, and it starts to get dark. Like, it happened really quick. I start to question everything. So if I'm not a flight, this is what I would tell myself. If I'm not a flight nurse, I'm a good husband, right? Come on. Nah, could have been better. Okay. I'm not a good husband. I'm a good dad, at least, right? Because those are the three things I always wanted to be. I wanted to be a flight nurse. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good dad. Nope. Could have been a better dad. So if I'm not those things, then what am I? And I couldn't answer that question. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and figure out who I was. And it was scary. I'm getting the chills right now. It was scary, right? And for once, at some point, I felt like the world was better out without me. Like my kids were better off without me. My wife was better off without me. That someone in that company felt like they were better off without me. So why not the world, right? And she got dark.
I've been there.
I've been there to that, Sergio.
Yeah, and I didn't tell my wife that. I didn't tell anybody. So I just called Lena and I said, I'm on my way. And I went. And that was probably the most pivotal experience I've had in my entire life. Being there with her. Yeah. Boy,
you saved your own life. Can I just recognize that? I really want to recognize that. You saved your own life. Look at you, you hero.
Yes.
But wait, right. I want to say one more thing, because I've been there where you go, well, if I'm not this and I'm not this, well, who am I? I've always done it this way, but I'm not doing it that way anymore. But now what do? I don't know what to do. I don't know what my life looks like. That is where you get to be excited, because the next chapter is exactly what you want it to be. You look at the things that you want and you go, I'm that. I'm going to be that. Even though I'm not that yet, I'm going to be that, or just you get to orchestrate and craft your life exactly the way you want it to be.
Your own story. Yeah. There's so much freedom there, because you're like, what should I do? Oh, let's try this. And remember, like, even us telling you you're a hero, you're this to us, you're this to us, you're that to us, but who are you to you? And that you can only answer, right?
Yeah.
So is that sort of what you experienced when you went to that retreat?
Yeah. She put me through some breath work. So in 24 hours, she put me through a gamut of things. Right. Breathwork being one of them. And I don't know if you guys have ever done somatic breathwork, but it is powerful. Right. And,
I've heard.
It's so powerful that's what I'm doing now. I've gone, and that is what I'm doing now. Like, my goal is to leave healthcare altogether someday and do this full time.
Kidding. Oh my gosh. I want to come to a retreat. Sergio's retreat.
Yeah. Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so over the last 2 years, so she was the catalyst, or she led me to the door. But not only that, I met her brother, Noel, which I had never met. And we have similar stories. We have similar personalities. And he's the one that led the breathwork session because he was going through his training. And the way he was talking, the things he was saying, the way he was not judging me, the way he was listening, the way he understood the things that I was going through, it was powerful. And I just cracked open, right? And I didn't know what to do. I was in the session. We're done with the breathwork session. There's a little period of like reflection afterwards. I couldn't talk, right? But Lena and her husband Armando were in the session with me. We did the breathwork session together, but Noel led the session. And it was powerful to share that space with them, and them look at me with love in their eyes, compassion in their heart, and no judgment. That was something I hadn't felt in many, many years, right? Like, only your mom looks at you that way when you're a kid.
Yeah,
and
it's rare.
I felt all that energy, right? And it was great. Yeah. And I got to really tease out what made me tick. And that was the beginning. She gave me a bunch of homework. She said, hey, You're going to journal every day. Here's some questions, but you're going to journal regardless if you're done with these questions or not. You're going to journal. Just journal. Dump your mind onto paper.
Yeah.
And I did. And I did. And I did. And then I
How
came
long
back.
ago was that?
This is about a little bit over 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I go back and she practices with something that's called compassionate inquiry. So you talked about the body keeps a score. Dr. Gabor Mate is the guy that pioneered this compassionate inquiry stuff. And basically it's curiosity, right? Be curious, ask questions, no agenda, no destination. And she did that for me. She held some beautiful space and I got to really look at my life at a high level, my entire life, the snapshot of my entire life, and look at when I was 4 years old, fast forward to when I was 12, fast forward when I got married, fast forward when I maybe was mean to my mother-in-law, maybe I was this or I was that, right? And I went through all those things, right? And what I figured out was that I wanted to be a nurse, right? Because I wanted to take care of people, right? Because I wanted to help them deal with suffering. Maybe I couldn't take it away or decrease it, but I wanted to help them deal with it, right? And I felt like a failure after so many years because I couldn't prevent my mom from suffering when she was dying. I couldn't prevent my dad from suffering when my mom was dying. I'm getting emotional now. Right? And it made me angry. It made me angry to the point that I was so mad at my life that I couldn't even enjoy it. And so being able to look back at it now, yeah, but I didn't know that. Right? And so being able to look at it now and look at those things as lessons and teachings, and this is the way life is because these are valuable lessons that I need, right? To live my life the right way.
Understand it.
To understand my life, right?
Yeah.
But also to break the cycles that are keeping me or mine here, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
I've done that.
You have a unique place now because it has been so uncommon for nurses, ER, doctor, all the people in the medical field that have not gotten the therapy or, have stuffed it down or compartmentalized, however you want to call it, that you understand them. They want to go to therapy, but they need someone who uniquely understands exactly where they've been, just like you needed. And now you've been there and you can help them bring relief and healing from some of the things that they probably don't even know that they've been stuffing down for years. What a huge opportunity.
Huge.
To save more lives. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's what wakes me up every morning now. Right?
Yeah.
Like the excitement that I can help some people, that I can change the world, right? And during this session with Lena, right? Before we even started, I was sitting there and she just looked at me and was like, "How do you feel?" Right? And I was like, "I feel okay." Right? And she's like, "No. How do you feel? Like, take a breath and tell me how you feel." And I was like, "I have something to say." Right? And she's like, "Go ahead, man. Like, this is your time." I told her, I know that I'm destined for great things. Right? And she looked at me and she's like, "The entire world has known that, haven't you?" Right?
Yeah.
That was the first time that I believed it.
Wow.
Right? And that's powerful. That's powerful to like really grasp that and have the confidence that maybe I'm not going to be a flight nurse forever, but I'm going to be great in my own right, in my own lane, doing my own thing, helping the people that need the help, not the people that I forced to help. We, when we're doing the job, forget that we're seeing patients at the worst time of their life, probably the worst day of their life. Right? And for us, it's just a Monday.
Yeah.
It's just a Tuesday. It's 3
And
o'clock in the morning.
Your training was to bring it down a notch and not have it be so serious. So you've been doing that.
So you can get the job
and over
done.
time, it's made it seem like it's not that big of a deal, or like maybe you could have been better at your job or something. I don't know.
So this is how how disconnected you become with emotions, right? And I'm speaking for myself. So my wife's cousin died. They grew up together. He got shot. He died. She's crying, and I'm looking at her. She's like sad, and I tell her,
You're like, tears are coming out.
Yeah, like, why are you so sad? She's like, what do you mean? My cousin just died. I was like, he was a banger. What did you expect? Wrong answer, right? Because I love the guy. I truly, and now, like I've told her before, like, I am incredibly sorry that I was that insensitive, right? It's because you become numb. You become so numb that you can't even feel love. You can't even feel joy. Sometimes you can't even feel fear or anger. Like, that's dangerous when you can't feel angry.
Yeah,
I've heard that from police officers too. They just, they're just very matter of fact. Yeah.
And through the things that I've learned now, right? And so my journey wasn't just through breath work, right? It was breath work. I learned how to meditate. I learned how to journal. I did these sessions with Lena. I've dabbled in some plant medicines and all that kind of stuff, and really looked deep into myself and what made me, what got me here. And now, right, my kids will tell you that Dad's more emotionally available. My wife will tell you the same thing. I'm more caring. I have boundaries. I'll say no to going to places or doing things, and I'm really working on this thing to be me, right? To find.
That's so good.
Maybe not to find myself, because now I think I found who I was, right? Mm-hmm. And now if you were to ask me, or I was to ask myself in the mirror, who am I? I'm a kid. I'm a kid that is living his dream.
Amazing.
It's great. It feels great to be me now.
Fully you, and fully someone who has a huge impact in the world. And imagine you were about to take that person away from us. So do you want to talk about any of the other, I think you mentioned something else that you did as part of your transformation?
This was the big epiphany, right? So like for me, it was learning. So I don't have an addiction or anything like that, right? But what I meant was that the darkness, kind of like suicidal piece, is what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I did hear your story, and I was like, this is hitting home.
Okay. Because that part of my story of when I was sitting in jail after I had been arrested for DUI and wanting to my head against the wall. Okay. Now I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew, yeah. That is such a dark, dark, dark time. And think of it. If you had, decided that everybody's better off without you, if I had rammed my head against the wall, right? Look at all the things that have happened since then and where we are now. And if there's a lesson really to be learned by just don't make a permanent decision on a temporary problem or a temporary feeling, that this feeling is going to pass, and just don't make that decision right now. Get to tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. Maybe you'll have a different outlook tomorrow.
If it doesn't pass, there are things you can do there are people you can call. And if you don't have somebody to call, there are hotlines you can call. There are so many ways to reach out. And sometimes you need to reach out to a stranger because your family's busy, or, you just don't have that person that you trust to reach out to. Reach out to somebody else.
Reach out to Sergio.
Yeah.
And do some breath work. And maybe your life will totally change.
and that's what I've learned now in this venture, right? Like I've been taking this serious, the wanting to be a breathwork practitioner for a year, right? So you can go do the weekend class and all that kind of stuff. But I did basically a year, like 10 months, right? And it's been great, right? So through that, I've learned that my story from when I was a kid to now, right, is the training. That's the training for me to help people, right? That is, they're not people. I always was around like people that are like high achievers, right? Like they want to be the best in the medical field. Or my brother, like he's a go-getter as well, right? And it's always been like, failure is not an option, right? I hate to tell you, failure is absolutely an option, and it's gonna happen, right?
And
So if
it's
you're in
good
denial,
because that's how you get to
that's
yourself.
how you learn.
If you're afraid
That's how
to
you
Yeah.
learn.
fail,
There's a
yeah,
lesson in
Right?
every mistake. There's a lesson in every mistake and every
Yeah,
failure.
you know,
Mhm.
but I've had people tell me like, oh, you know, if you fail, if you don't do this right, you're gonna do that right, you're an idiot. Sorry to tell you, buddy, but you weren't born knowing everything either. So
Mhm.
like, it's the truth, right? So me going through my challenges and coming out of them and being on the other side, like now, right? I used to look at my life, look back at it, right? If you envision me looking back at my life, I looked back at it and I saw like a path of death and destruction. The apocalypse that hit behind me, right? Because I just
Mhm.
walked through there. And now doing all the things that I've done and teasing out the things that I've done and really understanding what makes me me, I can look back at my life and say, I'm proud of what I've done. It's not
Yeah,
perfect and it could have
yeah.
been done differently,
It got you
but I
here.
am proud. Every
Mhm.
decision that I've made and every right or wrong call, every up and down, left and right, all of those things have gotten me to where I am today. And damn, I'm
Yeah,
proud.
yeah.
And so is the little kid inside of me. The little kid inside of me is ecstatic of all the things that he's seen. You know what I mean?
Your inner child is proud of you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, you know, and it's that's the training, right? And so when I have clients now, right, and they bring up some of these things, right? Like we see what's on online and what's on TV and whatever, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of it is wrong, right? A lot of it is kind of taking you down this path that you should have it all together, that you know you have to heal your wounds.
Nice. Mm.
They don't when are you actually healed?
Mm.
It's a process, man. You got to enjoy
Oh,
the ride. It's
yeah.
going to suck sometimes, but that's part of the lesson. The lesson is that it's going to suck, and it's
Yeah.
teaching you to withstand things that suck, right?
Yeah,
So
because it'll
for
pass.
me, exactly, right? And so maybe instead of looking at yourself and being so hard at everything that you do, hypercritical and, you know, all hypersensitive sometimes, maybe give yourself a little grace. Give yourself permission to mess it up. Give yourself permission to fall short. Don't make that the plan, but
Yeah.
hey, it's okay if I don't meet that goal, cuz you know what? I got really close. And here's what I
Right. And
learned.
then just pausing, like what you say you do now, taking a pause, appreciating where you are, smell the roses, be in the moment, take some time to grieve, maybe do some breath work and get through the thing that you're trying to suppress, but nope, that's not the healthy way to, like go through all the emotions, be happy, be sad, be angry, be fearful, do all the emotions, get through it so that you can be a whole person and have a whole life and have a whole experience, the whole journey,
Yeah.
The steps
right?
of your foundation are so much stronger than when you start to sort of, take steps to get yourself out of it. You've already laid the groundwork by tapping into those emotions. Because if you try and then build the steps without that part, it's you're going to come back to it.
Well, that's why you hit the bottom, right? Because the
Mhm.
foundation wasn't very strong. It all
Mhm.
crumbled and it made you
Mhm.
come to the bottom. And then now you're rebuilding stronger
Mhm.
foundations, stronger, maybe a belief system, right?
Yeah.
And for me, through breath work, what I've been able to do is reconnect to both of my parents, right? Like both of my parents are dead now, right? And so that was terrible in itself, right? And I didn't realize how much of that stuff I carried, right? And it wasn't until recently, like a few months ago, that I realized that I was so angry. Like I was still angry inside somewhere. And what I realized is that I was angry at them for leaving me. The little kid inside of me felt abandoned by
Mm.
them. It's not their
Mm.
call, not their fault, right? But I still felt angry and I had never told them,
Interesting to
right?
realize that.
Yeah. And
Well, and owning
it
those
kind of,
feelings is pretty powerful that you can say that you were angry at them for leaving and just like having that moment for yourself because that's another thing that you can work through and just say I recognize that,
yeah,
And then you get on the other side of it and it's like okay, now, I can be
yeah,
done being angry about that.
yeah, I had a very powerful session when I realized this and I yelled at them, like literally yelled at
Yeah.
my parents, right? Like, I hate you. Why did you leave me? You know, all those things came out. right? Like a
Good.
angry 10-year-old, you know? I felt so good afterwards. So good. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. If I would have yelled like
You
that
can
at my
handle
mom
it.
if she was alive, she would have slapped me. But
No.
right?
Did you joke
But
about it
you know what I'm
after
saying?
you
Like
said that?
it got out, right? The emotion got out, right? And it was so
Yeah.
great afterwards, you know?
Wow.
And now what I talked about learning to break the cycles, right? I'm teaching my kids that it's okay to not have it figured out, that it's okay to, you know, maybe kind of wander through life a little bit and then figure it out, or life will take you somewhere, right? And so I've taken a lot of the pressure that I had put on them for the first part of their life, like you've got to do this, you got to go to school, you got to do this, you got to do right. And now I'm like, hey man, do what makes you happy, but first take care of yourself. So they both now do breath work, they both journal, they both sit in silence with me, they both meditate, right? Like wish my parents
Setting
did that with me.
intention. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
that's what
Did you?
education is turning to that now too. So I remember my last few years teaching, we did that. We did breath work, we did goal setting. Like that's just good for kids to envision their lives and tap into their own selves early in life. Because we were never taught that. We were taught to conform. So it's like it's different now.
Well, and one thing that I learned too through some PTSD therapy with an ex-husband of mine who was recognized he had PTSD from being in the military. But his therapist said meditation and breath work is the only way for the brain to heal itself from the effects of PTSD. Meditation's the only thing. Is no medicine, no nothing, nothing else is going to help that. And even if it just stops the PTSD from affecting your brain, even if it doesn't reverse it, it at least stops the negative effects of PTSD.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's so good for trauma, being trauma informed. And then for you to be able to work with all the people like in your field, but then even people outside of your field. I mean, really, the sky is the limit. And so just to kind of wrap it up and put a nice little bow on it, what would you say to the people listening that need to hear your story? What would you say is like the lesson you've learned that hopefully give them a little bit of hope? And then what would your life message be to the world?
I guess to the people that need to hear the message, take a moment and listen. Not just yourself, but take a listen to the kid inside of you and see how they look at you. Because that kid had a dream. And before all of the noise, all of the distractions, and all of the pressures that you learned in your life, that kid had a dream. And whatever that dream was or is, have you met that dream or have you fallen short? Because I can guarantee you that you're probably ahead of what that dream was. And I'm sure that kid's proud of you.
I love that. That's so good.
My message to the world is to be kind to yourself, to others, and to love unrestricted, whether it's yourself or someone else. But you have to love.
I love that.
That's it. That's all of it.
Yeah.
Sergio, you have been such a gift to us, our family in particular, but your story is going to impact so many people we don't even know. Speaking of, how can people reach you if they would like to do some breath work with you or even just find you on social media? Is there a place where they can go to find you if they would like to contact you and find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, my handle or whatever is at mictlan.journey. I know that's a kind of a weird one.
Will you spell it?
Yeah, MICTLAN.journey. I have a website which is called mictlanjourneysomatics.com. You can go on there. I do coaching. I do one-on-one sessions, group sessions, short sessions, long sessions for breath work, whatever you need. I have a journal that I created on there that is there available on Amazon. So if you want to do some journaling, some prompted journaling, you can do that. You can buy that. But yeah, I mean, more than anything, yeah. So the Mictlan is a kind of a nod to my roots. Mictlan is the Aztec underworld where after you die. Yeah, after you die, your soul in Aztec mythology, your soul travels through 9 layers of trials and tribulations, before you're laid to rest.
Okay. Ooh, I'll have to
That is so
research
cool.
that. Yeah.
That's the first thing I'm Googling as soon as we log off here. That is so
Love
cool.
it.
I love that. I love that.
But yeah.
Your parents would be so dang proud.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Don't you think?
Totally.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
thank you, Sergio. Thank you
No,
for
thank you
being
guys.
with us today. If today's story moved or inspired you, please take a moment to share this episode with someone who needs a spark of courage. Your 5-star rating and short review help these brave, courageous, and resolutely fearless stories reach even more hearts. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an episode of Intrepid Storytelling. Thanks for listening.